Hello YouTube Pipers, Double O Pipe here, aka Rick. I'm giving my Rossi Naute a workout today. It has a larger bowl than I usually deal with. And I put in it J.M. Boswell's Christmas cookie. I have a full jar of that. I don't know when I'll smoke it all, but I'm starting in on some of the older ones, try and whittle them down a bit, or weed them out, you might want to say. And I also have a beverage. I hope everybody's doing okay. I'm definitely sucking tobacco through. I can definitely taste a sweetness in that. That's a nice tasting tobacco. If I can just get that that fire to go in that pot. Last time I was on here, I told a story about my dad when he was a boy. Been thinking about him a lot since it's his birth month. He didn't have much of a sense of humor. Now his dad was all about fun, and he had a real sense of humor. This is when I knew him. I don't know. Whenever Dad was growing up, I think he was too concerned about keeping the family fed to be having a sense of humor. When I knew him, I first met him when I was conscious of things in 1960 when they came over for a visit. And he was always pulling tricks on me, knowing that I was a shy kid. When we would go to not a drugstore, but a five and dime, these five and dimes had everything on display. If you wanted to look at it, you just picked it up. It was in a tray on a counter, and you looked at what you wanted. If you decided to buy it, you just took it up front. My granddad, I was with him when we were walking down one of the aisles, and he stopped at one, and he looked at me, got this smile on his face, kind of reminded me of Clyde with that smile and that twinkle in his eye. And he lifted up a pair of red panties a lady's pair of red panties, and he pulled them out, put them in front of my face. I'm what, 12 years old? At that funny age kids are. Held it up in front of my face and pulled away, looked at me and said, "You think your mother would like these?" I turned the same shade as those panties. And he laughed and put them back on the counter. Oh. That was him. He was always full of fun. Well, my dad didn't quite have that kind of a sense of humor. Matter of fact, I think I was in third grade, and I used to always go wherever they went, because they always took me. They didn't want to leave me with a babysitter. So naturally, I was always sitting there. I might be playing with something, but always listening to what the adults were saying. And it got to the point where they were all telling jokes. And it was my dad's turn. And he told his joke, and everybody laughed uproariously. It was hilarious to him. And I sat there, I didn't quite understand it, but I said, it must have been funny. And a couple of weeks later, we went to somebody else's house. He was visiting his friend. And I guess since he had gotten such a big laugh with that joke, he told it again at this guy's house. And his friend and his friend's wife just laughed and laughed, thought it was the funniest thing. I still didn't get it, but I figured that must be one funny joke. And about a week later, we went somewhere else. Same thing. He told his joke. Everybody just laughed and laughed, and I just sat there and I went, I don't get it. Well, in school, we had these show and tell days. And I had forgotten to bring something to show. Everybody else was showing what they had, and everybody was saying, "Oh, that's, really nice." And then the teacher got to me and she said, "Ricky, what have you got to show?" I said, "Well, I don't have anything to show, but I know a joke." And she looked at me and she said, "Well, tell your joke." I looked around the classroom, and then I looked at her and said, "You want to know how to catch a polar bear?" Everybody was saying, "No, how do you catch one?" And I said, "You dig a hole in the ice, make it real deep, and you put peas on the edge of this ice, and then you stand back and wait. And when the polar bear comes, you kick him in the ice hole." Teacher didn't laugh. A couple of the boys who were a little wiser in talk of adults understood it and laughed and laughed. I looked at them. I couldn't understand what they were laughing at either, because it still wasn't funny to me. And I knew it wasn't funny when that teacher looked at me like, "I'll talk to you after class." Well, I didn't get it till later in life when I finally understood. Kick him in the ice hole. Kids, don't repeat what your parents say in a group of adults. Sorry. I just remembered that and it cracked me up. And I just thought I'd share it. Probably isn't funny anyway. But my dad, that was pretty much his one joke. He must have heard that at work. And everybody laughed. And then when he told it in the family group and everybody laughed, he must have thought that was good too. So. So much for my show and tell. But still, some of those guys in the classroom laughed. The teacher looked at them too. My granddaddy, when he came over here, he was one funny guy. When he came over, he forgot his false teeth. He was always... I think he forgot them on purpose because he hated those false teeth. And we got some peanut brittle, and he would sit there and he would crack the peanut brittle and suck on that and get the peanuts out and mash them between 2 spoons, and then put that in his mouth and get the taste of the peanut brittle. And when he was over here, he gained so much weight that he had to have a large V put into the back of his pants so they'd fit. Excuse me. I thoroughly enjoyed the time that I had with him. I didn't have a whole lot of time with him, but it was fun. Over in the lot next door that Dad owned, I went over and chopped down a tree in the lot. And my mother asked me, "What in the world have you done? You know your dad's going to be mad with you." And my granddad, whenever Dad got home, told him he had just chopped down a tree in the yard. He hoped he didn't mind. He took Dad, what could Dad say when his own dad told him he had chopped down that tree? So I can't think of any other bits of comedy. Now, Dad used to enjoy comedy on television. He thoroughly enjoyed George Gobel. I don't know if anybody's familiar with George Gobel, but he thoroughly enjoyed him. I really didn't have anything much planned to say. I just wanted to share a pipe. And I had thought about that polar bear joke. And the reaction it got when I told it and the reaction it got when my dad told it. Completely different. Yeah. There's a time that we went to a lake further up the road. My uncle owned a little shack on that lake. And we used to go up there one summer quite a bit. Now I'll have to tell you about that story. It was it was a red-faced teenage boy story And boy, I'm sorry I did that dad and son story. I will, I will bring that up another time. I'll never forget that one. All right, folks, going on long enough. I just want to say, hey, I think it's Friday. I want to say have a good weekend. God bless you. Until the next time. Bye bye.